right, we're here at my tiny worm bin, and the last time we were in here, we gave it its last fast food feeding, and we started to give it dry feedings. We also stopped putting this kind of shredded cardboard in here, and we started putting in only big pieces, and I think we put in 6 cardboard tubes. So we're going to check on how that is doing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to aerate this bin and make sure as much as this old shredded cardboard as possible is underneath and is buried. So let's go ahead and see if there's any of that fast food left. I doubt it because it's been 17 days since we were in here. We've been pretty busy lately, so I haven't been able to get into my worm bins as much as I've been wanting to. Here's some of that tomato skin that we saw previously, and I'll just kind of rip it up. It's one of the last things to go when they eat the tomato. And let's dig under here. The moisture is feeling pretty good. It's still moist, but it's also drying out, and I'm seeing little worms all around. And here's some of that cardboard tube. So it looks like after all this time, some of it might have gotten kind of shredded up. So I'm just going to try and keep some big pieces over here, and I'll just collect them, and everything that I get from it that I can't like get all the castings and everything else off, I'm going to put that in my urban worm bag because that has become kind of my catch-all worm bin. Here's one of the ones that we had, so I'll just kind of open it up, and it looks like there's a lot of mites on it too. I'm just going to hold still. Let's look at the mites. Now, it's not surprising that we're seeing a bunch of mites right here on this wet piece of cardboard because they really do like the moisture. But let's just kind of dust this off, and we'll just put all of this stuff in here so it can go into my urban worm bag. Here's another one, and this has worked pretty well. They're very moist, so they have collected moisture from inside the bin, and it's allowing the castings to dry out. So I think that's 2 out of 6. Here's another one right here. Let's go ahead and see how they did with that. Parts of the edges are definitely getting eaten up, and I think one of them might have been a paper towel roll that we cut in half, but same thing. Let's just try and get some of the castings off. So if you didn't see that last video, go ahead and check it out because it kind of shows you how this bin is progressing from being really moist to getting a little bit drier with each new step I'm taking, because in about 20 to 30 days we are going to harvest this. So we're kind of letting it forage. We're also letting it dry out so the castings are ready to go right when we harvest them. We're getting some good worms right here. I'm going to show you something in this worm right here. This is kind of the underside of it. The top of it is kind of purple and underside is a little bit more pale, and you can actually see, I guess we would call them the intestines, but if you get a close look right there, you can see that long dark line. That's all the food that they are eating, and it's really cool to see. All right, let's see if those other 4 cardboard tubes are under here. And wow, yeah, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful worm right there. And you can see the clitellum right there, the bulging clitellum. And that is one of the indicators of a red wiggler worm, along with a kind of orangish tail in the back. And I don't see the cardboard tube there. Let's dig over here. And there we go, right there. Let's kind of break it open. This one, they seem to have filled with their castings. They certainly like to hide out in these. It's what I've noticed as I've been putting them in over the years. There we go. If we get a worm or 2 on here, not a problem, because this is a red wiggler only bin, but they're going into a mixed bin. So I don't mind putting things from here into my urban worm bag, but I don't like to go the opposite way from my urban worm bag into my pure worms. All right, that might have been the last one. Let's just dig out, and this is also helping to aerate it. This one they've kind of taken apart a little bit more, and no big deal. When we do harvest, if we see big pieces like this, we'll take them out also. I think we may be 2 feedings away from harvest. We'll have to see. I feel like that might have been something. But yeah, check out the moisture level. So I'm just gonna grab a bunch and I'm gonna kind of gently squeeze it. You'll notice it sticks together, but then as soon as I just kind of wiggle around, it breaks apart really well. And now what I'm gonna do is just aerate it. So let's go ahead and do that. So one of the things that I'm noticing as I'm doing this is that the bin just smells wonderful. It smells like being out in the forest on a damp day. There's no foul odors, so everything is doing really well, which I'm really happy with in this tiny bin. Sometimes in a bigger bin, it's easier for the worms to avoid any kind of bad situation that you might have going in the bin because they can flee to one side of the bin or the other. So it's really important, the smaller your worm bin is, just to make sure that all the parameters are correct, that it's not too damp, that you haven't overfed it, that kind of thing. Just trying to get these corners real well too, because a lot of the moisture can kind of go to the corners. This bin underneath is just a little bit raised in the middle, and the corners are the deepest part. So it's important that we don't have any kind of anaerobic conditions going on in that area. All right, so one of the things you might have noticed as I was going through is that the worms are kind of spread all throughout. So they're not in any one place. The feeding zone was long gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer in the feeding as we go. So this is the only food that they're going to get, and it actually smells wonderful. This is a lot of dried oranges, dried banana peels, all kinds of other dry foods that I dehydrated and then I put into my magic bullet blender and blended up. So I'm just going to add some of it to this portion right here, and then I'll add my other stuff, which is my worm chow. Add some of that right there, along with a little bit of coffee grounds for them. And then I'll put in their favorite, which is eggshell grit, that again I pulverized in my magic bullet blender. Now I'm just going to bury that up like that, and then we'll keep this process going. So in with some more food that's been dehydrated, and then the worm chow. Ooh, that's a big piece. That will not get eaten if I leave that like that for a long time. It's kind of mats down and the worms can't get to it, so I like to break up any kind of chunks like that. Then we'll add some more coffee grounds for them, and then in with the eggshell grit. All right, let's go over here to this other side, and we'll do the same kind of thing, and that should help to feed the bin all throughout it. So in goes a bunch of food for them. And more worm chow, coffee, and then more eggshell grit. All right, I think we'll do one more kind of in the middle here, and that'll be it for their feeding. And strike that as usual. I forgot to put something that I wanted to put in, and this is just a drink container made out of recyclable material. So I'm going to bury these in here, and again, just to kind of absorb some of the moisture that we find in here. So we'll go to this corner and bury one down in there. And this corner right here for another one. And no big deal, we're just mixing up the food. The worms are going to get to all of it, so that's not a problem. And let's see if we can do one in this corner as well. There we go. And then the last corner over here for some more dry material for them. And hopefully that will help them eat the rest of this shredded cardboard, because I'm not putting any more of it in. All right, now I can do kind of a center feeding a little bit and give them a little bit more food right down here. So in with more food, and the amount of food that I have in here would have probably been like 4 feedings worth based on how small it got when I dehydrated it and how much I was able to fill. You know, I fill it all the way to here, and then by the time I shred it up, it's all the way down here. So this was really a lot of food. And some worm chow, and this is just, I think we had oats in here. We had a lot of flours like almond flour, coconut flour, that kind of thing. I even had some flax seeds in here, I think. A little bit of coffee and tea grounds right there in the middle. And then once again, their favorite. I say it's their favorite. If you tune into my next video after this one, you'll see I did an experiment where I put eggshell grit in a pile along with melons and some other stuff, and they ate or went through the eggshell grit first and spread it all around. So let's just bury this up like this. That should be good for them. So if you are getting towards, the end of your worm bin's life as far as getting closer to harvesting, you probably want to take some of the same measures that you see me take here on switching to all dry foods, because as the bin turns to more castings, what ends up happening is because those castings just absorb moisture so well, the whole bin can kind of get swamped or muddy. So getting ahead of that and just kind of planning ahead will really help your worm bins go better and do well. So I think what I'm going to do now is put on some more newspaper, and I may put on a couple layers because we still have a lot of food up here and I want the worms to go ahead and jump up here and get it. So we'll start with the old stuff, and then what I'll do is put some more new stuff on here. You know what? Let's put this part right here where that food is. Got a piece right there for them. Got another piece right there. Let's go a little bit more right there on the edge. So with all this other bedding that we used, we're going to go ahead and put this into the urban worm bag. And I may kind of either rinse off these mites, or if it's too infested with them, I'll just put them into the garbage. Mites are okay, but I really don't want to run mite bins. I want to run worm bins. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing well. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.